Hi, Cindra Campoff here, high performance coach, here to help you master your mindset for a genius life. For the last couple of years, I've wanted to start a podcast. And this year in April, when I was writing down my goals for the year, I wrote podcast with a big question mark. I had all of these reasons going through my head on why I couldn't start a podcast. Things like, I don't know what kind of equipment to buy. What kind of content do I put on the podcast? How do I get an intro and an outro? How do I upload it on iTunes? Or things like, if I really put myself out there, man, that'll be scary. People will criticize me. It was this big mountain that I felt like when I thought about starting a podcast. Until one day. And it was a Monday. I had just got off our local radio station where I provide a topic related to mental toughness and performance psychology every Monday. And I got off the radio station and I looked at my phone and I saw a Facebook message from a woman named Angie Jar. Now at the time, I had never met Angie, and Angie said, "Hey, I listen to you on the radio every Monday morning. I have an idea for you. Would you like to have coffee?" And I thought to myself, well, okay, why not? And so the next Monday, I met Angie at Panera. And as we got talking, she was telling me about how she listens to me on Monday morning, and then she goes to her class as a college professor, and she repeats the message, and they talk about it in class. And so I thought, oh my goodness, like this positive message is spreading, that she's spreading it to her class. And then she said to me, "Cindra, have you ever wanted to start a podcast?" And I was like, OMG, like, yeah. But it felt like such a big mountain to climb. And then we started talking about it, and she said, "Cindra, have you ever thought about putting your radio spots on the podcast?" And I was like, no, what a great idea. And then the mountain started getting a little smaller. And we spent about 20 minutes talking about the impact that the podcast could make. And instead of just impacting my small town related to a positive message about reaching your dreams and going after your best and your potential, we were talking about how people all over the world would listen to this podcast, and that the influence and the positive messages could even spread more. And when I left Panera that day, I knew that I was going to start a podcast. That's all I needed was a push. And this push came from a stranger. So I'm telling you the story for two reasons. Actually, three. First, because I am excited to announce that I have a podcast. It's called The High Performance Mindset. And it is available as of Saturday on iTunes and Stitcher Radio and on the website, thehighperformancemindset.com. There are two other reasons that I wanted to tell you this story. Number one, we dream these big dreams for ourselves, but then we think of all the excuses that we can't do it. Sometimes these excuses are tangible, like about skills, about I don't have equipment, I don't know how to record a podcast. Then sometimes these excuses are psychological, like, what will people say? Will people criticize me? And I'm here today to tell you to step it up, to go after those big dreams. Yeah, that fear is always going to be there, and the excuses are going to be there, but you can learn anything that you want to, and you can bust those mental barriers that you might have. All I had to do, for example, was watch some free videos on YouTube about how to start a podcast. And the third reason I'm telling you the story is because sometimes all we need is a push. That push can come from a stranger we didn't even know, who says to us, like, "Hey, have you ever thought this is possible for you?" And so today, please encourage a friend, a colleague, maybe a teammate, somebody that you coach, or your son or daughter to go after their big dreams. They know in their gut that they can do it, and all they need is a push. They need a push from you to help them step it up. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you would like to check out the podcast, I would be so incredibly grateful. Again, you can find it on the podcast app on your phone, on your iPhone. Just search The High Performance Mindset. You can also find it on iTunes and Stitcher Radio if you have an Android. And then, as always, at the website, thehighperformancemindset.com. And if you have 30 seconds, please provide a rating. Because guess what? If you do that, that gets us in the news and noteworthy section on iTunes. And then more people will hear a positive message about going after their dreams. Thank you so much for joining me today. Make it an outstanding week and be mentally strong.